Welcome back. It's the Big Blue Banter, New York Giants football podcast. I'm Dan Schneier, joined as always my co-host Nick Falato, coming to you live, a few hours later like we normally do it after Sunday Night Football, for another Giants loss, Week 5 against the Saints. And Nick, there was a brief moment when the Giants went up 14-3 in this game where my group chats were going off. My family group chat, a few others I had with some friends who listen to the show. Shout out Kevin, Steve Hall. And the text were, this is really fun. This is awesome. This is incredible. And we had really rid the high from last week. You beat a 3-0 Chargers team. You looked really competent. You looked really good. You have a new rookie quarterback. Your defense looked dominant. And there was a high moment of, is this thing finally turning around for this franchise? Because that's all they had to do was keep that going at 14-3, win this football game, head into Philly at 2-3, head into home game versus Philly at 2-3, and have the opportunity to redefine everything. The regime, Joe Shane, Brian Daboll, this team and this season that started 0-3 at one point. And that didn't happen. And I do apologize because I got a lot of crap for it online. For anyone who's like, oh, you predicted 37-13. You thought the Giants would blow them out. You're such an idiot. I did once again buy into that Kool-Aid, but I will not make that mistake again with this current regime. I know that, Nick. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Dan. It's funny because I felt that same energy. 14 points. They haven't scored, the Giants, with their first two opening touchdowns, haven't put 14 points on the board with the first two drives in 5 years. And I felt that. And the offense was rolling and it was clicking. And Spencer Rattler seemed rattled by the Giants' pass rush. And it looked like the Giants might start to go in the direction that you predicted. And I was like, that is excellent. But then what happened, Dan? The Giants, the historical New York Giants, found another creative way to lose a football game. And after those two touchdown drives, man, it was dropped passes, punt, and then 5 consecutive turnovers, and then a drive where they turned the football over on downs. So that was the reality that we inherited after we thought we had this little inspiration of hope that the Giants could break free from the mediocrity, being kind there, that we have all unfortunately witnessed for quite some time. But as we have said so many times, Dan, on this podcast, the Giants are a bad football team. They're not a good football team. And we need to go forward with that through every matchup that we are experiencing. They might have good players. They might be able to put a drive here together, or they might be able to stop Justin Herbert when his offensive line is Dan Schneier and Nick Falato.
Yeah.
But they're a bad football team. They're not well coached. They're not well prepared. They're undisciplined, and they find ways to shoot themselves in the foot. And yet again, here we are, 5 consecutive turnovers. I don't think that's been done in 9 years, I think it was, is what I heard. That's just insane, bro.
Yeah, I think it's 9 years since 5 consecutive turnovers. I think the last team to do it was the New York Jets, which is really just a cherry on top of what it's been for New York sports, both teams. I mean, since 2017, I saw David Syverson tweet this out. The Giants and the Jets have the most losses in the NFL. They've been an absolute abject disaster franchise. We are at the Jets level at this point. And I got hopeful for no real reason, but I will always get hopeful in these spots. And I look back on it now and I realize, they kind of caught the Chargers a little bit by surprise, like you mentioned, with the injuries to Joe Alt. I don't even know if that's the full excuse, but the Chargers did look terrible today on offense with this new offensive line. It's not just Alt. They had like 3 or 4 starters out. So the Saints also had Cesar Ruiz out, their best offensive lineman, and the Giants got a lot of pressure. But Spencer Rattler was one of 2 quarterbacks in Week 5 to not be charted for an off-target throw. So is that credit to Rattler, or is it another knock on Shane Bowen for not figuring out a way to better game plan to stop this team? Because it did feel like Kellen Moore not only had solutions for Spencer Rattler, but he had solutions fast, Nick. It wasn't like Rattler was holding on to the football. It wasn't like Rattler had a lot of time back there. And yet we weren't able to really shut him down completely in this game. That's not the only reason they lost. I mean, outside of the 87-yarder to or whatever how long that play was to Shaheed, I think he only had like 76 yards passing. The Giants gave up, I think, shout out Doug Analytics, all the Giants turnovers combined today, Nick took 28 points off the board for the Giants. So really that is the reason they lost this game. But in the end, there is no excuse for losing to an 0-4 Saints team. On paper, the Giants should have won this matchup. On paper, I don't care what anyone says. Their roster was considerably better than the Saints, and the matchup was considerably good for the Giants. The Saints have injuries on their offensive line, a bad O-line. Saints defense is terrible. And some of the things that have held back the Giants for me through the years of Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen just continue to creep up for themselves. I feel like the Giants beat themselves a lot earlier in this game. I thought those were two cowardly ass decisions to punt the fucking football when you're facing a shit defense that's been bad all year, the Saints, and you're at 4th and 2 at the 50-yard line. You punt the ball. And you're playing this bullshit time of possession. Whatever you think, he does this over and over, Daboll, throughout his tenure. And it just infuriates me. It's 4th and 2. You have a zone read option. They can't stop. Scadaboo's going to get those 2 yards, or Dart will keep it and get the 2 yards, or you roll him out and you throw the ball in the flat. And either way, you're converting that. But for Daboll, it's no sense of urgency at any point. When they go down by 2 scores in the 4th quarter, no sense of urgency at any point. At that moment earlier in the game, when they're leading the game, they punt because there's no sense of urgency. They don't want to put it on the throat of these teams ever with Daboll. It's always, let's grind out a win. Let's ball control a type win. And we don't have the team to do that because we're so stupid and we make so many dumb mistakes that we can't afford to have these minimal possession games where we're letting clock run and we don't have that many possessions. And that was clear and obvious toward the end of the game when the Giants didn't have that many possessions and they went down. And so ultimately, in the end, like you said, a stupid team loses another stupid game. But to me, it's just a microcosm of what this coach is about. Everything that he brings to the offense and his lack of urgency.
And it's much broader than just Brian Daboll, right? And we can even step outside of all the player mistakes because those player mistakes are going to happen. But why did the Giants only have 51 guys on this?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this. No one knows.
Like, it has to be a money thing, right? It has to be. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the intricacies of fully on what the monetarily what needs to happen or what doesn't happen and why that is. But if you are not dressing 2 players to save a little bit on your cap when you have all of those injuries at the wide receiver position and the running back position, there needs to be a serious conversation about that. That is such an oversight. And that might be on more so on Joe Schoen, I'm sure, than Brian Daboll. And Brian Daboll has to sit there and take the slings and arrows of that because obviously Joe Schoen and Kevin Abrams and the Giants front office are much more in control of the cap situation. But right now, when you had the opportunity to turn the season around, you leave 2 roster spots just unavailable. You're not going to address those guys because of cap constraints. You need to figure that out. You need to figure that out because you're rolling out Jalen Hyatt and Bo Collins because Darius Slayton ends up hurting his hamstring and you have no one out there. I'm not saying little Jordan Humphrey would have been the difference, but these little operational errors, the Giants are not a good enough football team to overcome them. No, you are not. No. You need to figure your shit out. And it's inexcusable at this point. It just seems like things like this consistently happen with this regime.
Yeah, dressing 51 players when you're allowed to dress 53. Brian Daboll's answer to why this happened in the post-game presser, I saw Bobby Skinner took some, just kind of pointed out it was what he deems to be like the worst answer Daboll's given. And I think it's fair to consider what you said, Nick, which is this is just what Daboll can say. And it's really an issue on Shane and what he's not going to throw Shane under the bus. But his answer sucked. His answer was, we came into this game, we're going to play a lot of 12 personnel, we're using a lot of tight ends. Okay, that's not a good excuse for what if injuries happen, like the Slayton injury, or more importantly, what if you get behind by 2 scores and you got to go 11 personnel? Because in the second half, they had to go 11 personnel. It was like first half, it was 46% 12. The second half, it was like 11% 12 because they were trailing by 2 scores. And you need receivers on the football field. Another thing, all preseason, I watched Jaxson Dart show a good rapport with Gunnar Olszewski all preseason. I see Gunnar Olszewski ability to get open. No one can get open on this freaking team, but he gets open. I don't care if it's underneath. And he doesn't get any snaps. We're running out Bo fucking Collins who's cutting off routes and then letting an interception happen. It looks like molasses out there. He's so slow to me. And Jalen Hyatt, who knows what he even offers your football team. But I know Gunnar can actually get open. And maybe he wasn't just against preseason guys. I don't know. But at least put him out there and let him see. Because he got a lot of reps with Dart in the preseason. He got a lot of reps with Dart in training camp. Let him go out there and create separation underneath and find some kind of solution for this quarterback. Because I don't know what it is, Nick. And we'll see it on the All-22 tomorrow. But it looked like there were 4 or 5 plays where Dart is sitting back there, and the protection. Once again, great pass protection of Giants. How do you lose a football game when the old line plays this well? They're creating yards in the run game, and they're protecting every play. And yet we have 14 points to show for it. And I got to see the film to see if no one was getting open. I don't know if it was Dart missing stuff and not on time or no one was getting open. I don't know. But all I do know is we need to freaking get someone out there who can create some separation and move the ball.
100% agree with your Gunnar Olszewski point, and I was going to make that, but thank you for jumping on that. But circling back to Brian Daboll, like Daboll's in a tough spot there. And look, we all know how Dan and I have felt about Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen and their retention this last season. But once they were retained, we're like, all right, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going forward. Cool. So I'm not sitting here sticking up for Brian Daboll, but he is in an impossible situation because he cannot throw the general manager under the bus. And the fact that the Giants are in such a tight cap situation, the Giants are hamstringing themselves on the road in a winnable game, dude. Inexcusable shit right there from the top all the way down to the bottom. You can point at all those 5 turnovers, all that. Yes, there's a lot of merit to that's the primary reason why the Giants lost this football game. You need to protect the football. We understand that, but it's still inexcusable that the front office presumably is hamstringing this coaching staff and sending them out there when injuries are such a major factor in the football game.
And I don't even want to say like it's their salary cap restraints and situation. No, this is all a bunch of mumbo jumbo by Joe Schoen to say, I did a good job and I got the Giants salary cap healthy. When I got here, Dave Gettleman, borrowed from the future and we had all this dead cap and we were so unsound. Who cares about being salary cap healthy? The cap goes up every year. The Chiefs aren't cap healthy. The Eagles aren't cap healthy. None of the good teams are cap healthy. You're being cap healthy for nothing. You win no award for being cap healthy. Dip into the future and create now to give your rookie quarterback a chance and give your chance a team to get back on track because you were 1-3 facing a shit 0-4 Saints team with an 0-10 quarterback in his career who actually played pretty well. But the point being, you need to win this fucking game. It was very winnable. And you didn't win the game. You want to know why you didn't win the game? Because of little things like you just mentioned, Nick. Because, salary cap constraints mean we can only dress 51 instead of 53. Tip into the future. Restructure another contract. What are you doing? You don't need to be cap healthy. It's the biggest joke in the NFL right now. All the good teams are not, quote-unquote, cap healthy. So I don't want to hear that ever again from Joe Schoen as some positive in his tally of what he's done for this franchise, which is nothing, Nick, because I will say this. As much as I want to blame Brian Daboll, and I don't like Brian Daboll, I think he's a cowardly coach who doesn't ever put his foot on the gas, plays not to lose, makes terrible fourth down decisions, and generally speaking has his team unprepared in most ways. But I'll say this, Nick, as I watch a team like the New England Patriots defeat a Bills team on the road to go 3-2 and give them their first loss, yes, obviously the clear sign, I don't want to throw this under the bus and bury the lead, Drake May is unbelievable, and he's the next elite quarterback, but also they're winning football games and making plays on both sides of the ball, Nick, and protecting him with a roster that didn't even have as much time. Like Joe Schoen has had so many more resources to work with in the Patriots roster. You look at that roster top to bottom versus the Giants on paper, it's not even close, but yet they win football games. I wonder why. I wonder why they're able to win football games despite that. Like there's not really anything around Drake May and they're still winning football games because they're A, well coached, but B, this GM is finding players who are actually making an impact and doing probably all the things to maximize these players making plays versus this Giants team that has no excuses really for losing this football game. A lot of these teams have turned around bad rosters quickly, like the Patriots. The Giants have had all this time and have done nothing with it.
Nothing with it, man. And you think about some of the comments through the week by Spencer Rattler, and I don't think Spencer Rattler was trying to disrespect Shane Bowen, but in effect, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. They don't really do that much. They're not that creative on the back end. They just kind of show up and they play you, and then that 0-10 quarterback beats you and throws an 87-yard touchdown pass where your slow safety, Tyler Nubin, was isolated against one of the fastest wide receivers in the National Football League. And that was a well-designed play by Kellen Moore against that cover 6 defense. But still, man, everything Spencer Rattler said, he backed it up. This 0-10 second-year quarterback who everyone's like, yeah, this is probably the worst quarterback in the league, which I don't think, starting quarterback. No. I think Spencer Rattler can actually ball, and he proved better than Gabriel in this game. Yeah, but my point is, the Giants did not confuse him. The Giants, when they were getting pressure, he had solutions. And that just seems to be the story for this regime. It's like whatever fastball the Giants can throw, it's always hit by the opposing hitter, the other team. And then the Giants don't have a curveball. The Giants don't have a changeup. The Giants don't have anything else because the coaching, I think, has really stifled the overall development or the ability for this team to compete at a professional level.
It's very insane, dude. Like they scored 14-3 to go up 14 points to go up 14-3. Didn't score another point the whole game against this 30th ranked shit Saints defense that I want to repeat is a really bad defense and will continue to be exposed for the rest of the season. This is one of the best performances the Saints defense will have all season long. all season long. We'll look back and we'll say that once we go back on this. Defense has minimal talent, some decent veterans. They're old, honestly. Like, what did the Saints do this year, Nick? We heard the entire year before this year, like, here it is. Finally, the Saints are paying for kicking the can down the road, the salary cap. They've just had to bottom out. They have to add nothing to the roster in free agency. They didn't even have many draft picks, blah, 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 blah. They used one on Tyler Shuck, who doesn't even play. And yet, despite not having a lot of talent and being very old on defense, we have 14 points to show for it, and we're punting from 4th and 2 at the 50-yard line for God knows what reason. Literally, God knows what reason he made that punt. I was so disgusted with that punt, and I don't always want to go for it. I said earlier 2 weeks ago we should have kicked that field goal. It's not like I'm always on that punt, strategy. But I will say this about the point you made, by the way, about Bowen. That's the second time this season we saw on a key play, because it happened in week 1 against the Commanders when they motioned Deebo Samuel out and got him matched up against Holland. Second time an opposing offense coordinator has found a way to get a one-on-one against one of these safeties that we're putting tons of draft capital and money into, and yet who makes the play? The receiver, not the safety. And it's Rasheed Shaheed on this one, Lou. Again, is a fast player, but I mean, come on.
It was a very good play design, though, too.
Yes.
Deep curl made Paulson Adebo sit in that deep 4th, and then Tyler Nubin opened his hips and started working inward towards the deep half where Javon Holland was, and that allowed Rasheed Shaheed to just put his foot in the ground and then just break outside the numbers, and he had nothing but green grass because Paulson Adebo was playing the deep curl. So really well designed, but that's what we're saying. It's like it's easier to design and manipulate the Giants defense because everyone kind of knows what the hell they're doing.
Right.
There's nothing imaginative there with the Giants defense. And this is like week 5. This is like the 5th time I've come on this podcast after and said there's really nothing imaginative with the Giants defense, because that's just the reality of the situation with Shane Bowen calling plays back here.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. And it's disappointing for the players too, Nick. Like, the lack of development for a player like Tyler Nubin this year has been really just shockingly bad for this franchise. They couldn't afford to miss on any more draft picks. They could not afford to miss on a draft pick in the secondary, because that's the one, they've put so much effort into trying to rebuild this secondary. And in the process, they've skipped over things like wide receiver, which is why we have what we have. And they skipped over things like interior offensive line, which I don't even think was that big of a problem in this game, right? No. The Saints don't have that much talent on defense. I feel like Dart had all day back there, and we ran the ball well. I don't even understand how we scored just 14 points, Nick. I look back in this game and I'm like, I get it. It's 5 turnovers and they punted from midfield twice, but like, it's insane. It's just insane.
It's that right there, though, right? Like the Giants were moving the football offensively. It's not like they were getting shut down by this crappy Saints defense. They were just sloppy. They were just sloppy. They were just dropping the football, dude. Just dropping the football. 3 fumbles, right? You had the Darius Slayton one, then you had the Cam Scadaboo one, return for a touchdown. Before that, there was also the Jaxson Dart, where that one just slipped right out of his hands after he had like 5.5 seconds to throw the football. Probably should have bailed well before that, but he was trying to find answers. Don't know if we'll find out on the All-22, as you said. Is it the lack of separation? I'm unsure. But there was plenty of time for Jaxson Dart. And the 2 interception, one was on a 4th down. It doesn't really matter. It was a dumb interception to make for Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I understand why he would come down with it. It was his first career interception. And then the other one, Bo Collins just didn't run his route. Like, he just stopped running his route after Kool-Aid McKinstry bitched him at the line of scrimmage. He just stopped. And then that's not on Jaxson Dart. You can make the argument that neither of those interceptions, like, I don't look at Jaxson Dart like, oh, he threw 2 picks. That's terrible. Like, I look at Jaxson Dart like he's a rookie quarterback who's going to make rookie mistakes, but I don't look at this game and say, this is Jaxson Dart's fault. No. He didn't play great, and I'm sure the All-22 will give us a little bit more insight to this.
Or the receivers could be covered, and the routes could be not creating separation. It may not be on Dart. The one thing that is definitely on Dart is he really severely underthrew that flea flicker. And the
flea flicker was a big mistake, and it was that. And
a mistake. I wish it was a mistake. It's worse than a mistake. It's a question mark about the arm talent. It's not a mistake. It's a question in my mind about the arm talent.
I've seen Jaxson Dart
make bigger throws. Agreed.
Yeah, so I don't I think your point is correct where it is a question about the arm talent, but I know it's in there. It's maybe, does he understand in those situations how to properly deliver the football? And where I feel like that is, where that is an innate thing for some quarterbacks. Well, we don't really know if that's necessarily innate for him because it was underthrown, but I know he can make that throw, right?
Yes.
Like, we've seen him make better throws than that. It's just underthrown, maybe a tad too late too. And the one thing
it wasn't a great pitch back from Scadaboo. The timing was a little off from that. It was slow to get the ball back.
Exactly.
It's not. I know he can make that throw.
I'm not blaming Darius Slayton for that play, right? But without Malik Neighbors on this roster, there is no one who can bail the quarterback out when a play isn't perfect, or when a play is
or even when a play is perfect, Nick, like that first throw to Slayton, that Slayton drop. That's pretty close to a perfect throw.
Yeah, I felt like Slayton's I agree. I felt like Slayton's post-game comments were, it was indicative of who he is. You know, he's the veteran leader, savvy veteran leader on this football team. And he's right, though. Like, you sometimes got to bail out your quarterback if your quarterback doesn't deliver the best football. And then you have guys like Jalen Hyatt. It's like the one play where Jalen Hyatt was jostling with the receiver downfield. I'm watching that and I'm like, there's no way Jalen Hyatt's catching this football. It's like I never have any faith in Hyatt. I never have any faith that this guy is going to come down with a football that is anything like a 50-50.
And how about the play where Dart's scrambling? He's just kind of standing there, not trying to make a block and not trying to do anything on the play.
He's
like a Banks type. He's just like mentally not there.
I mean, people talk a lot of shit about John Michael Schmitz. And this is much more of a
plays. Yeah.
Yeah. He is the best pick from that draft class, right? Because Deontay Banks is terrible, right? He's terrible, has no effort, is scared or shy into contact consistently at another.
It's a different game if he doesn't interfere there too. We have that interception, the whole game changes.
I know. Because it looked like Olave was going down anyways, but hard to say. But this is who Tae Banks is. And I think Dan Duggan did a great job at the end of the game asking Brian Daboll, I'm sorry, like, well, why is he playing more than Cordell Flott, right? And again, Brian Daboll's not going to be like, well, general manager wants us to get something out of our first round pick. There's packages in there, even though all those packages are third down packages. I understand Tae Banks. Like, I've said this, he has more talent than a Cordell Flott physically, but Cordell Flott is much more suitable to play right now because he is just by far and away a better football player than Tae Banks. And I believe the deficiencies that Tae Banks has brings down the overall product of the New York Giants because it is effort related. It is IQ related, and that's a problem.
And there's big mistakes that cost them in games and big moments, like you said, like the 3rd and 17 or whatever it was. And then this one where if he doesn't interfere there, it's an interception. It's a very different game. It's like the worst thing possible continues to happen for Deontay Banks. He gets these limited opportunities anyway, and when he gets them, bad things seem to happen for him or for the Giants in those situations. And it's just hard to want to keep him on the field in those spots. And obviously we'll see what happens with that moving forward. And who knows if they may get to the point where they just bench him for the year, Nick, and then just admit defeat like they did with Evan Neal. It's here's the thing though. Like, people don't understand. It's like I feel like some people understand this, and I know you do, Nick. And I think most of our fans understand this, but I think a lot of people just look at it like another name and another bust, or another name and another whatever. We move on to the next year type of thing. But when you continuously miss on draft picks like this over and over and over again, there's no going back. There's no getting those picks back. You only get 7 a year. The Giants this year don't even have 7. They traded their 3rd pick to get Dart. So when you have that limited opportunity, there's small sample size to begin with, and it's a really finite amount of resources. When you miss the years before, you're just kind of screwing yourself for years to come. And so for that reason alone, like, it's why we went over why Joe Schoen doesn't belong here. I know he hung his hat on last year's draft class. It's like, but last year's draft class also had players in it that aren't performing right now. One obviously is unlucky with Neighbors, but like, it's not turning out to be the greatest draft class in the history of the world.
Tracy's an unlucky one too.
Tracy's an unlucky one too, of course. But like, it's not turning out to be it's certainly not a regime saving draft class, to say the least. And it's also, again, picking 6th overall. It's like, it's constant, like the Gettleman era where we just picked over and over in the beginning of the round. Of course, you're going to have some hits. Just, I don't know, man. It's just, it's really rough to be 1-4 again, to lose to this Saints team. This was such a winnable game for the Giants, and they should have won the game, right? Like, I know it's stupid to say, but when you think about it, the 5 turnovers took 28 points off the board, according to Doug Analytics, and I think he's right on that. So that's literally what defined the game, and those are all correctable things. But then again, last week we won the game because of turnovers, basically, against the Chargers. So
you got to protect the football, and damn, 5 consecutive turnovers is just wild to think about, though. I don't even know how to Frustrating, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Giants continue to be frustrating. Creative ways to shoot themselves in the foot. Got to love it. Is there any positives that we can really harp on right now, Dan, when it comes to just this game? Yeah, Darius Alexander looked okay out there.
I think he steady drumbeat. I saw one of the clips that you put, and I think I quote tweeted at good game last week. Better game this week. I think we're going to like his tape. Darius Alexander starting to come around. Abdul Carter, once again, had like an insane amount of quick pressures. Obviously, though, the Saints had a good game plan for this. They knew we were going to get quick pressure. So what did they do? They designed quick outlet reads for him, quick throws and options in the quick game. And they were there. For some reason, Shane Bowen can't figure out any possible way to get anything going here or to show them anything different that can stop these quarterbacks who are just going to get the ball out quick in quick game. So we'll see what happens on that front, but that would be a positive for me, Abdul Carter. I think, and I harp back on it, Nick, 2 more positives. The Giants offensive line. This is another really good game. We'll see it on tape. The pass protection, I feel like Dart had all day back there. I know it's honestly a really bad Saints defense. So it's not like, if you look at all the numbers going into this game, they're like 30th, 28th, 29th, 30th. So it's not that good from that standpoint, but still good. And I thought we created in the run game again for a second week in a row, which was also kind of rare for this team. Our run blocking was much better looking. And then finally, love to see Bellinger and Theo Johnson, right? Theo makes a nice couple touchdown caps, especially the second one more so than the first. And then Bellinger getting involved in the passing game finally. So those are positives.
Yeah, I was going to say the red zone offense, definitely a positive. I like the first touchdown to Theo Johnson too, because you motion Daniel Bellinger, I believe, over, send him to the flat. You expand the second level defenders horizontally while also bringing in the play action element to bring them closer to the line of scrimmage. And Theo Johnson just slipped right behind him and nobody even looked for him. Also, you had the outside release from Darius Slayton because the Giants, they still used a decent amount of spread formations, it seemed like, in this game, but we'll confirm all that on the All-22. And then the run defense. There wasn't this huge run that was broken off like we've seen every single game. The Giants allowed only 88 yards on 30 carries. It's a 2.9 yard per carry average. Kendre Miller had 4.1, but Taysom Hill was bottled up. He didn't really have an effect on the game as much as we thought he was going to. He did have the one completion that went for 19 yards. But other than that, the run defense and the red zone offense, 2 of the biggest Achilles heels for the New York Giants, shored up and looked a lot more competent in this game. But as we know, once you correct one thing with the New York Giants, they're going to find another way to screw something else up because they rarely ever play complementary football. It's not what they do. And they did that this week by turning the football over 5 times on 5 consecutive drives after having a 14-3 lead.
Yeah, we haven't seen that, I don't think, since we started watching the team. Like you said, they just find new ways to lose, to find different ways to create disasters. I personally feel like a lot of that comes from the coach. I think he doesn't present a good, I don't want to use the word, but I'll use the new age word, vibe. I just don't think he presents a good vibe. I think it's a very, even tonight, like so random, Nick, but I was watching the Pats Bills and there was a moment where Josh Allen at the halftime show was talking to Jason McCourty or Devin McCourty. I think it was actually Devin McCourty. And he was like talking about the big turnaround in his career was this 3 interception game he had his second season against New England. And he's like, Daboll was reaming me out at halftime, reaming me out. And it just like made me think like, that's what Daboll does. He reams out his players and like, it's not like he just presents this really bad environment, in my opinion, just personally, my belief. He's very walking down the sideline, emotional. And yet there he is sitting on 4th and 2 against one of the worst defenses in the NFL and decides he can punt the ball there because you know what? He has a lead at the time. And then there he is in the 4th quarter and decides he can grind out these slow drives with no sense of urgency because we'll get a score here. Then there'll be 5 minutes left. We'll get a stop and then we can score on the last possession. This is, I imagine how he's processing this, but none of it makes any sense to me, and they don't play with any urgency. And I really think a lot of this is because of Daboll.
It could be. I mean, the guy wears his heart on his sleeves, meaning he's very emotional dude. And I think that emotion can wear thin when you are consistently losing. And if you're a player who has been in countless locker rooms from high school through college till now with different coaches of different levels, and you understand that, hey, maybe this coach isn't doing the best. Like this coach, what he's saying is not clicking with the majority of the players like other coaches have. And you can compare and you can contrast and you can juxtapose your past as a player and then be like, yo, this guy, man, this guy's not like getting us in the proper position. He's not showing us that, that he trusts us in those 4th and short situations. He's playing very conservative and now he's reaming me out for making a mistake. If that is happening, I can certainly see how that could rub players the wrong way.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that. I don't want to make that assumption because I don't really know. I just know what I know, which is I feel like when I watch these games and he coaches this team, it feels like he coaches not to lose. And I've been saying that now for 3.5 years, even dating back to 2022. In some of those games we should have won once we started losing in the second half when we went 3-7-1. I've never liked that aspect about him. I really don't even know what he offers to me at this point, Nick, because I don't think he's some kind of offensive genius by any means. We'll see on the tape, but it feels like last week when I watched, there were certainly some coverage sacks and there were certainly some bad route combinations. We'll see if that's the case this week because his offensive line gave them all day. And then also, in addition to that, he deserves none of the credit for Josh Allen. None of the credit. It was a misnomer carried by the media when in reality, it probably all belongs to Jordan Palmer, his quarterback's coach, who fixed Josh Allen's mechanics. And you could see it because and Allen's on primetime almost every week, they do the breakdown on Sunday Night Football where they show his mechanics from when he was a rookie to where he is now. And it's completely different mechanics. He's become a core body thrower and he used to be all arm. And that is not on Daboll at all. Daboll gets no credit for that whatsoever. In fact, Josh Allen's a more efficient and better quarterback since Daboll left and stopped calling plays for them. And Daboll's past as a play caller is all bad, including his present with the Giants, where he's currently won 2 of his last 17 games as a head coach in the NFL, regardless of who his quarterbacks are. I don't want to hear that as an excuse anymore because he had a chance to coach 3 different quarterbacks this year, including one who was a Super Bowl winner at one point, and another was a first-round draft pick. So he needs to start winning football games.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Tough. It's been really tough. We can probably get into the supers here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we can go over from
special teams coverage is great. That's another
positive.
positive.
Special teams. I give him a B+ on the report card grade, man. I felt like
the kickoff coverage is unreal. At this
kickoff coverage is unreal. I sometimes wish I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna punt from like midfield, can we like maybe angle it towards the sidelines and get it to like the 5-yard line and not the 19? You know, like, but at the same time, I'm like, Jamie Gillen's probably, fucking making me punt like right now. Like, what the hell, bro?
I was just so angry that we were punting that I wasn't. Yeah. And I did get angry that we got 30 yards net. You're right. But
and Banks averaged like almost 40 yards a return with his 2
Our kick return game's been good a couple weeks in a row now, too. We've been great all year with kick coverage, but I believe our kick return last 2 weeks has really jumped the average a bunch.
The whole Tae Banks as a kick returner is kind of funny. That's what he's been.
Gotta get something out of him. Yes. First round draft pick.
I just hope he doesn't, I don't want to put it out there, but gets hit and then that would be unfortunate.
Look at what Jay said in the comments. Shout out, Jay. We'll try to read more. We're going to get to supers in a moment, though. Big Dash is in here. Thanks for the shout out, Big Dash. But Shane's first 3 years, his top 100 draft picks. This is what defines not only your tenure as a GM, but it defines your franchise's chances of being good 2, 3, 4 years down the road. There's a reason
building the foundation of your roster.
There's a reason they say you don't judge a draft class until 3 years, because that's when it starts to take place and if you win football games or not. And the history is Thibodeau. Good job there. Neal, horrific. Wan'Dale Robinson, not good in my opinion. I'm down on Robinson. There's some kind of role for him. He's an okay pick in like round 4 or 5, but that's about it for me.
And Khalil Shakir. Like you look at Khalil Shakir, they got him.
Who's a better player. I'd rather have Khalil Shakir.
Exactly.
Much rather. I mean, he was a round 4 or 5 pick. Robinson, Hyatt, total bust. Azudu can't stay healthy. Flott, good, fine pick. Not good pick, I won't say. Fine pick.
Yeah.
Banks, total bust. JMS, not total bust, but not a good pick by any means, especially taking a center that high. It's a borderline bust or just waste of resources. Neighbors, great pick, but easy. No, anyone can make that pick. Newbin, we'll see. I don't want to judge him yet. It's too early, but not good. Drew Phillips, good pick. So that's just not, that's all top 100. That's really bad. He's right, Jay, by saying that's really bad.
And didn't we take, and I think Greeny Green just said this in the comments. Thank you, Greeny Green. We took Hyatt over Cedric Tillman, right?
Yeah, who we remember when we did that breakdown, you and I, Nick, we were like, we like Tillman here better than Hyatt. He had better tape. Then we drafted Hyatt. We're like, all right, well, I guess the speed will give us that opportunity to open up the field. It's like, oh god,
dude, it's just like I said, man, not to harp on the whole Hyatt thing, but when he was trying to work back to the football, I'm like, there's no way he's gonna locate that football and bring it in. And then every time he's just on the ground with his arms flailing in the air and then looking at the refs like, and it's like, you were holding as well.
Right.
No,
he's got his exactly. Like, that is not a pass. None of those were pass interference.
This is the same guy who freaking caught a touchdown after missing like 3 or 4 opportunities in preseason and was like bragging about it.
Right. And he had 2 drops in that game. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, bro, you played like shit before this, man. Have some self-awareness.
Yeah.
Anyways, man.
Let's get to some supers. Yeah.
Yes. Eric Camp Pan. I don't know if I said that correctly. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, but thank you so much, buddy. Says, I am so frustrated and angry at this whole team. Oh man, you flew to New Orleans to see this crap. It's just completely evident that Daboll needs to go. What happens now? Well, first, Eric, if you're still in New Orleans, I hope you get some good gumbo and eat some really hearty meals down there. It's great food, a lot different down there in the bayou. I only know because I've been to Mobile a bunch of times, but I got to spend some time in New Orleans.
Oh, you got to get out to New Orleans.
Yeah, I think I love New Orleans. We should go sometime, Dan.
Yeah, man.
We can commiserate down there as
po'
a group.
boys, best po' boys in the world.
You know, I don't think I've ever had a po' boy.
Oh, if you do, you save it, because I know you don't eat that type of food typically anyway. So save it for when you do visit New Orleans, because it won't be replicated anywhere else.
Gotcha. And then Eric says, what happens now? Look, I think this season is just going to spiral out of control as we're so accustomed to experiencing as New York Giant fans. And then John Mara will probably likely fire Daboll and maybe Shane, but I don't know.
Good question. Yeah.
That's something we'll probably be talking about a decent amount. Now, could you still turn, if the Giants win on Thursday, it could change a lot. Will they do that? I can't sit here and say with any sincerity that that's something that I believe the Giants can do right now, but crazier things have happened. But still, the overall energy with this team right now, the vibe, if you will, it's pretty bleak.
Yeah. It depends, I think. To answer your question, Eric, it's really just depends on a lot of things. We look ahead at the schedule. In the next 4, it's 2 Eagles, a Broncos in Denver, and San Francisco, who is winning every football game despite having to go to their backup quarterback, 4th-string receiver, not letting excuses of injuries play a role, because they actually have a coach who's really good at his job. So if the Giants lose all 4 games, which I think is the most likely scenario, like, remember, Nick, like, we went into the season circling the Saints as like, well, the Giants will win this game, right? Like, we both said win. Like, this was the game.
This game like that, though.
I did. You didn't. But I'm just saying, before the season, this was one of our games that we thought was winnable when we considered this was the hardest schedule in the NFL. And it wasn't just hardest based on last year's records. It was hardest based on Vegas win projections, which is a real determining factor on if a schedule is hard or not. And so with that not a win, we're reeling into territory where we are likely, I would say the most likely scenario is the Giants are 1-8 after that 4-game stretch that I just mentioned. So at 1-8, it becomes a situation where we could finally see in-season firings. I don't think Mara ever wants to do that, but at some point it gets really ugly in the locker room. The reporters start asking the questions. We've seen this happen. Guys, we've lived this reality so often in our fanhood recently. 2017 season and among others. Last year to an extent, right? But last year, I would
say to a big extent last year.
Yeah,
a big extent. Look, we were a little bit surprised that they were retained. We thought they were going to be gone.
I was pretty surprised. Yeah.
So like, I think we lived it last year, but now you got this charity year, and it's still crumbling beneath you, and you're falling into the void. So yeah, I think it's just going to be heavier this season. Yeah. But then there's the complicated questions that follow that, with the draft picks that were made this past year by this general manager, with Brian Daboll's wishes, presumably, right? And that's Jaxson Dart. What do you do about that? And that's a whole another can of worms that we could spend shows discussing.
And that may be answered by the fact that this quarterback class looks pretty bad. So maybe the Giants, even if they do end up winning like 1 or 2 games this year, are less willing to draft a quarterback. And maybe they can even do something smart for once and trade out of the pick and do what the Browns did to try to create for their future, because this team doesn't seem ready to win anytime soon. But the bigger question I have, Nick, and it's a bigger problem with, and I'm very, I know a lot of fans are down, have their own qualms with him, but I'm hoping 100%, and I'm sure most fans are, for the best for John Mara in his battle with cancer. Obviously, I have personal connection to that, and I still think he's a better owner than people do, because I think he at least cares. The bigger question I have with regards to that is, while he's undergoing that, Nick, the Giants need to start considering now their future. It's not like we wait till the season's over, or we get to the end like with this and then we're on the clock. Let's find a GM. Let's find a head coach. You have to start the process as early as possible to, 1, get ahead of the other teams that are going to be looking, and 2, give yourself the best chance of finally finding the right people to run this franchise, both at GM and head coach. So I'm more concerned with, is that process even started? Has that process even started yet? When does that process start? Do they wait till they're 1-8 to start that process? Regardless if they fire in season or not, I'm just more curious about that, the future right now, because I know for one thing, like, it's very unlikely that these two are back next year. It's just very unlikely. The Giants would have to go on an insane winning streak this year. And then in that regard, have they started the correct process, or have they put their correct process in place to find their replacements?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. Isser, thank you so much, bro. Says, do you think Daboll post-game answering why not add a wide receiver to the roster because injuries, and he says you could lose 2 running backs in a game, was a shot at Joe Schoen that the roster isn't doing being run well down? Yeah, so I do think I don't think he's deliberately taking shots at him to the media, like to be like, hey, I want to do this, but I am making my point that I told you that this could happen. And look, I'm just saying it. Like, I look at the Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen. There is some tension there. Again, we've experienced this through their time. At least we've discussed it on the show. I don't think Brian Daboll ever wants to necessarily use the media. Like, I don't think he ever wants to talk to the media, but since he's being asked the question and since he agrees with the media, he needs to give the most, like, just softly pitched, maybe veiled shot at, anything can happen in football. So we have to, but I think ultimately, if this makes sense, Brian Daboll agrees with the media's questions. Does that make sense?
It's interesting. No, I think that makes total sense what you're trying to say. It's an interesting
I don't
observation.
think he's like, screw Joe Schoen, man. That guy, but like, he's like, hey, they're asking me and I got to answer somehow. I won't throw you completely under the bus, but these reporters will probably be able to pick apart what I'm saying and understand where I'm coming from, because I told you that this could happen. That could be the perspective that I might be leaning towards.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation by you, Nick. I can't say that I've really thought too much about it until your question is, and thank you so much for leaving a question. For everyone who leaves a question in the super chat, I just want to thank you right now before we go any further. You're helping keep this show alive, so I really got to be thankful to you and all the people who have stuck with us throughout these years, man. It is tough to be a fan of this team. I'll be honest, it's tough to cover this team when they continue to do this to us. So I really appreciate you supporting us, even in seasons like that, by doing things like leaving a super chat and donating to the show. So with that said, I haven't thought about it much because, you know what, Nick, it just frustrates me that we have to think about these kind of things. That's what really frustrates me. These inner working things, these Shane, Brian Daboll stuff. Like, it just proves and underlines how big of a mess we are.
Exactly. And it's not something that has just cropped up last year or the year prior. Right. Like, this is something that has been here the entire time, dude, of this regime at this point. Yep. I mean, we bring it up a lot, but the Drew Wilkins situation, all of that, man, like, that is a blight on your resume, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And this, like, if you are Brian Daboll, you have to have some sort of antipathy towards Joe Schoen for having to trot out those wide receivers consistently once Slayton got hurt and you didn't have the depth to field the roster that you felt like you needed to help you win a football game, because you're the one burdening all of the questions. That's something you need to take on. And you can't say, well, we have no freaking money, so we can't. You can't do that, right? So you have to be like, hey, you could lose 2 running backs in the game. And that's like your way of saying, like, hey, this isn't really on me, but it's a crappy situation for Daboll.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too, as they're both trying to fight for jockey for position and jockey for who's more to blame, who's less to blame, as if that even matters. How about who's dealing with the consequences of your mistakes? Us, as we've won 2 of the last 17 games.
Exactly, but from the perspective of a Brian Daboll, though, it's like Brian Daboll said this could happen, right? And like, this is Joe Schoen's fault, right? Sure. So like, he has to like take all that. Like, this is like, if we have 2 roster spots, why are we not finding a way to spend money and get guys here? It's not a big amount of money that you would have to be spending to field those 2 roster spots. Right. So your roster has the depth that it needs to compete, right?
Yeah, good point. I don't know what the deal is with that, honestly. I don't know the inner workings of it. I think, they asked him and Daboll gave that kind of word salad answer. We would have to ask Shane, right? And even then, we'd get nothing from these 2. They're just, he's the used car salesman, the snake oil salesman. I've always felt that way with Shane. And we're getting to a real close point where a strong case can be made despite being a more competent person and not doing stupid things like not pick up the phone or panic draft Sam Beal in round 3. He's a much worse GM still, despite all that. Or not a much, but a considerably worse GM than Gettleman at this point, because at least Gettleman gave us Thomas and Dex, and McKinney and Barkley's not a good pick. It's easy, but McKinney, like, Jane, what is he giving us? Neighbors was an easy ass pick. It's like basically saying Barkley, and then Kayvon's good, but he's not yet at the level of Dex or Andrew Thomas by any means, or McKinney. So it's just getting to a point here, Nick. It's the fact of the matter is, Nick, when I was talking earlier on the show, I had that moment today where my brother was texting me in our family chat and everybody's going off. My mom was super happy. And then my 4 friend group chats, are we back? Are we back? It felt really good. We only had like 3 total hours of feeling good this entire year. The Chargers game last week and then the 14-3 in this game. Nothing in week 1. We have basically nothing last year, nothing the year before. We're going on 3 years and we only get 3-4 hours in a regular season of feeling good as fans.
I know it's terrible, man. And I see people, and I've seen this on Twitter as well. People be like, oh yeah, if we had a little Jordan Humphrey up for the game, we would have won this game. Like thinking like they're making a point. That's not the point at all. It's an operational issue, guys. It has nothing to do necessarily with the player that would have been promoted. It's giving yourselves more of an option and allowing your roster to actually be at the maximum that the NFL allows you to be at. Because that will allow you to have more options when you are out there. It's that freaking simple. It's not that complex, guys. Right. I don't people think they're being slicker or coy with their little comments like that. You're not clever. You're not clever at all.
It's the first time I've ever seen Nick let the comment section get to him. This is usually a Dan.
It's not a get to him thing. It's just like you guys have to understand this, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I like to see the tables turn a little bit there.
All righty. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. 2 games, no real points post 2 first drives, no offensive coaching adjustments. And why are Banks and Hyatt ever on the field aside from kickoffs? Yeah, sir. It's terrible. That 2023 class is.
To answer your question, though, I think it's what you talked about, Nick. Nick brought this up, and I think Nick was a spot on when he said it. They're on the field because the GM's trying to justify their picks, and the GM has done a lot to try to justify things in recent years. We've seen it with all his decisions, essentially.
Yeah, and the Hyatt one, it's like this is your golden opportunity, Jalen Hyatt, right? Like Malik Neighbors is hurt. Now you're going to be out there in 11 personnel packages, some 12 personnel packages, which the Giants leaned on a decent amount here. But he didn't do anything with it. He got targeted 3 times, didn't look particularly good on any of those targets. We'll review the all 22 to see exactly if he was getting open or anything. But overall, like the Jalen Hyatt experience has been just distasteful, just miserable. But
despite having a little bit of the weird thing is he had like some flashes on his tape in rookie year.
He did.
It's really weird. He just lost all confidence as a player or something. I don't really know.
And that was after his sophomore year, how we heard so much about how Mike Rowe was working with him and there was so much positive buzz, but again, it's positive fluff buzz. What are you going to do? JR 317. Thank you. Need a wide receiver trade so we don't stunt Dart's growth. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be a trade, but I do think we need to do something at the wide receiver position.
I don't think good finishing position on that swing, JR 317. I cannot get to that position. See that swing down there?
Hey Dan, we're doing a football podcast right now.
I know, but right now the only thing that makes me happy is thinking about golf. But no, you're right. We do need a wide receiver trade so we don't stunt Dart's growth. The problem with that is what Nick and I discussed last week, which is trade for a wide receiver now. He doesn't know the system at all. It's going to take him a lot of time, and it may not even be a solution. Amari Cooper never was able to learn the system last year, really, to be honest. Dart has no rapport with that player, so there are issues. Same thing goes with signing Odell, who I've said the Giants should sign. I watched his tape, and I think he's straight up would be their best receiver by far right now on the field at any age, really, at this age, at least 33, especially fresh off not playing a lot last season, no injuries. So, but who knows?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So wish we had gotten Vrabel. It's a disciplined coach. Yeah, it is. And he also says, bring back Allen Robinson, Hodgins, or David Sills. I wouldn't be opposed to really any of that. Hodgins especially, and then even Robinson. But I don't know what kind of impact that would have. But at least you will have some fresh legs that you can trot out there when Bo Collins is allowing Kool-Aid McKinstry to press him at the line of scrimmage and then disallow him from running routes. Yes. It's upsetting. Kevin, thank you. Daboll said players got to earn roles. Loved him for benching Galladay for Sills. Now he won't admit failure. Busts are playing rostered. What happened? I think it could be the disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff, as we said a little bit earlier, Kevin. And Dan, I don't remember exactly which. I think it was both 2023 and 2024. We talked a lot about that disconnect, especially last season. And I'm trying to remember exactly the instances that we discussed a lot on the podcast. But after this past offseason, it seemed like a lot of that was mended. It's coming right back right now. Whenever there is a team losing like this, I think you're going to start to see those two sides, especially when a coach cannot fully coach because decisions above him are hindering and hampering his ability to do so.
And we don't know if that's the case. Obviously, we're just speculating, but I think it's good speculation by you, Nick, and you put it on my radar because I'm thinking from this standpoint. They're both probably feeling the heat. Yes. They're both probably understanding that they need to do some things to try to keep themselves alive in the NFL. Yeah. And Joe Shane's account, like Daboll may get fired and may have another opportunity at some point to be a head coach. I highly doubt it, but he might. This is it for Joe Shane. He'll never be a GM again if he gets fired by the Giants. So in my mind, you're right. He could be pushing to play players like Hyatt because these are high draft picks in Banks, because these are high draft picks that he needs to prove their worth so he can come back to Mara and be like, this is what I gave you.
Yes. And I also, and this is something we talked about a lot in the past as well, it's Joe Shane, I think, saying, hey, I'm giving you players. You're not developing them. You're not finding a way. The coaches are not finding a way to maximize the players that I'm giving him. And I think that's Shane's perspective. So you can go back and forth on which side, if this is an actual, in reality, contentious situation, which side is more culpable in the reason why it's been so shitty. But I think they both have their perspectives, and overall, it's just not a great operation. Yeah. So that lays at the feet of both of them.
Yep, good point.
Greg Giants, thank you. So who do we want for head coach and GM? Way too early for that, Greg Giants. I don't know. Dan, do you have anybody coming to your mind?
It may not be too early for that, but it is too early for Nick and I right now. We haven't gone down that route yet. It's kind of like the draft. We don't start it, even though we probably, not probably should. We don't have time to do it, quite frankly, in the middle of a season. We're covering the film still. We both have full-time jobs, but yeah, you're right. We should start thinking about it. I'll start to look into names. I can tell you a few that come to mind for me. If he somehow gets fired, John Harbaugh's number one on my list, without a doubt, number one on my list. I doubt that's going to happen, but you never know. They're a measured franchise. I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe he will. There's some times where he may want out. I am open to Gruden. I know a lot of fans it's a very controversial idea. I just like that he wants to work with Dart. I personally think he knows how to design offense and he knows how to sequence plays really well. That's my personal opinion. I understand people say, what about with the Raiders? And I'll just say, look at the talent around him at the time. My hope is Dart is better than what he had to work with there. And I know he had a horrible line there. Giants O-line is on the up and up. So those are just two names to start for me. People like Minter, the coordinator we just faced last week from the Chargers. He's a possibility. Brian Flores is a good one, but
there's no shot.
The lawsuit, I don't think that one's going to happen. As far as GM goes, I'm going to be honest with you, Nick, and the listeners. I'm going to come up with names. I'll do my research, but I kind of feel like anyone who says they know anything about hiring GMs is doing a lot of speculation, reading things. Oh, he's part of this team that drafts these guys, and it's like, he's a scout or he's a, assistant to the GM. It's like, do we really know what role Shane had with Brandon Beane? Not really. We have some idea, not really. So I'm just hopeful on that regard. And I guess take from the good teams. I don't really know when it comes to GM. I'll be honest.
I got nothing on GM. I like the Gruden call and I love the Harbaugh call as well. That would be stars aligning almost, right? Because the season looks like spiraling out for the Baltimore Ravens. If they just wanted to part ways with him and the Giants would be able to get a head coach with that type of track record,
right?
That'd be something that would be fun for us, I think.
I will say this, though, one quick thing on that. No matter what we do, I would prefer that the head coach or the offensive coordinator we hire comes from the McVay-Shanahan tree. I personally believe that tree, from a schematic standpoint, gives you an edge at the NFL. I think it's proven by all these offenses that we watch week after week. Move the football teams like the Vikings with a shit quarterback like Wentz, among others. And I think that Daboll's system sucks compared to it. And I want to see one of those coaching trees come to the Giants and call the offense for Jaxson Dart.
Joseph, thank you so much for the donation. It's very kind. He says, my feeling is that we win 8 of 10 matchups against this Saints team. Against better teams, committing this amount of turnovers means we would have gotten blown out by 30 points. We fumbled a loss away. Yes. Yeah, 100%.
I think you're 100% spot on with that, Joseph. The problem is, while we would have won 8 of 10, these are the 2 of 10. And we seem to be under Daboll and Shane. A lot of times we seem to hit our 2 of 10 outcome.
Yes, we we find ways, man. We just find ways to not seize victory. We find ways to, we have a 14-3. Oh no. Oh, it's just you have a solid thing in your hands and it just turns into water and just melts through your fingers. And
at 14-3, Nick, I really thought it was going to be like we come on this show today and Dan's prediction was right. It was a blowout Giants win. And we roll into Eagles week. I was going to be so excited about the Eagles game. I was going to say, you know what? We got a chance. The Eagles team doesn't look that good on offense, but no, there's no chance.
Igor, thank you. Another late drop by Wan'Dale. Lil Jordan should be on the field, 6'3" and a 79-inch wingspan versus 5'8" and a 67-inch wingspan. Do the mathematics. Yeah, no, I mean, those are two specific roles, and I understand why Wan'Dale's there, but yeah, I think Lil Jordan should receive a call up with the current state of the Giants wide receiver room. But again, like I want something a little bit more than that. I don't know what the Giants are going to do, and nor do I want the Giants to spend what little draft capital they already have on a wide receiver who is going to take like 3 weeks to learn this playbook and what seems to be possibly a lost season with these upcoming matchups looming. John Kirk, thank you. A Giants beat writer has said losing is embedded in the walls at MetLife. I totally agree. You can change the quarterback, players, coaches, coordinators, general manager, etc. Losing is entrenched in the walls. I mean, it seems like that right now, but but look, I think if you nail a quarterback and you find a coach, you'll turn around. Like you'll turn it around. But it does seem like the Giants are cursed. I get that, John, and thank you so much for the donation.
Yeah, I feel like toward the end of this recent run with the Patriots, they probably felt cursed, right? After Belichick or the end of Belichick. And they've turned it around really fast with Vrabel and with May.
Washington's a big one.
Same thing for the Commanders with Quinn and Dave and Jaden. So it's not impossible. But I think what Nick said is 100% right. You not only have to hit the quarterback, you have to hit the coach. They have to both happen at the same time. And then you could finally start to turn things around.
Because again, the Giants have players on this roster. This is not a barren roster right here.
That's my point. I think it's better than a lot of these rosters that are winning actual games. These teams that are winning football games, the Giants roster is not worse than the Patriots roster. Like we have Keyshawn Booty out there.
Yeah, but you can have a good roster, but if you have people who do not know how to maximize that roster, then that good roster is going to play down to the level of these subpar rosters. And that's how you get these 2025 New York Giants team.
Right.
Michael Kroll, thank you. Thanks for all of your work. If Slayton is not available on Thursday, we will have Hyatt, Wan'Dale, and Collins against the Eagles with a rookie quarterback. Yeah, no, that's predict a victory. No, that's terrible. I'm going to say there's going to be a lot of 12 personnel in that game.
Yeah, they'll do the same thing until they can't. That game, it'll probably come faster. You know, this game, it was only really in the fourth quarter when they had to go to all 11. And you can see it in the numbers, the first half to the second half from 12 personnel to 11 personnel numbers. But you know, it's hard to imagine, though I do think the Giants defense is going to play well in this game. I'm just going to say that.
Well, it's also the Eagles offense.
That's what I mean. Yeah. It might even be worse than what the Saints, like, it just did not look good at all. They like, maybe that will I'll come back to regret that comment. So I want to be clear about that, but he's right, Michael. And thank you for saying, thank you for appreciating our work, and thank you for supporting it. But you're right, dude. Like to come into a game with Hyatt, Wan'Dale, Collins as your starting three receivers, it's insane, dude. It's unbelievable, really. With that said, though, Nick. With that said, Drake May's receivers were just as bad last year, and he found a way. And so I do think, and that's not just him; it's the coach, whatever it may be. Like, it's not impossible in my mind if your quarterback's dealing and he's getting the ball out to good spots, like. I think that's still the key to the NFL, but the coach has to be there too. You can't have, I think we're learning in the NFL, as I went over this week with you, Nick, when we headed into week 5 this week, there were only 4 quarterbacks in the entire league out of 32 who had a positive EPA when they had on all throws past their first read. So it's essentially become a game of which coach can find the first read and put them in a good spot and which quarterbacks can get the ball out on time with velocity and pinpoint placement to maximize yards after the catch.
Yes. Igor, thank you so much. Does Dart have an NFL arm? That underthrow to Slayton is consistent with the scouting report of the ball dying on him when he goes beyond a certain amount of yards on his throws. And then he also says, is Shane better than Gettleman at anything other than being presentable? We've tackled both of these questions, but I want to focus a little bit more on the first one about Dart and the NFL arm. I think he does have an NFL arm, but again, like I don't know on the spectrum of NFL arm exactly where that falls, right? Like I think Daniel Jones has an NFL arm, but I I know the limitations of Daniel Jones throwing the football, which we have gone over on this podcast, but it's still an NFL arm. Where does Jaxson Dart fall on that spectrum? Because I think it's clear he doesn't fall on the Justin Herbert, the Patrick Mahomes, and the Josh Allen side of things. But where exactly is he? That still remains to be seen from my perspective. And also, does he fully understand, like, what is his deep accuracy if this is Madden, right? Like, does he have that down? How down pat is that, right? Last week, it didn't necessarily show up too much, right? Like the Darius Slayton overthrow in the end zone, that was a product of the defensive hold that Darius Slayton drew. Whereas in this game, if he hits that throw, it's plausible the Giants win this football game. And we have a completely different
gets that out fast
on that bleed flicker,
True. It changes the whole feel of the game. I think to answer the question, there's a few things I want to say. I think the main thing that you brought up is there's a big spectrum when it comes to arm talent at the NFL level. I mentioned like earlier this year that I felt Jones had a better arm than Dart coming out when I scouted them both at college. A lot of people kill me in the comments for that, but I stand by that. And it doesn't mean that I don't think Dart has a good arm. I think it means that Dart can work on things to improve his arm. When I watch Dart, and I think you would agree with this, Nick, and this dates back to his tape at Ole Miss, it's not in 100% of the time you'll see his footwork married to his mechanic. Right.
Well, I want to say never, but like
it's not often. So he's mostly just relying on his arm talent right now. But when he starts to really lock in on his mechanics, in my opinion, at least, improve his footwork in each offseason, he's got to commit to it. Obviously, he's a young kid. And use his body more like Josh Allen does, use the core to start driving the ball. I think he can have really good arm talent. I think it could even be better than, again, I mentioned, just going on the Duke tape from Jones and just on the Ole Miss tape from Dart. I felt like Jones had better arm talent. But I think that Dart can get to a better level than that. With that said, we just watched the Patriots and Bills. It's not going to get to that level. And I would put May in that. Like, May is just ripping balls into hole shots, right? And ripping balls. And he throws the ball to Diggs where he's on the move and he just dots it. Like, that's not the arm he's ever going to have. Yeah. No matter what he does with mechanics or footwork or core, that's not that kind of arm. So there's just different levels of arm.
It's about maximizing your physical gifts. That's what it's about, right? Like Dak Prescott, he maximizes his physical gifts because he understands how to generate the necessary force through the ground and through his body to deliver the football at its maximum, what he is capable of doing. That's what Josh Allen has learned. And then we found out that he was an alien. Jaxson Dart is not there quite yet. And that's something that we hope that he can develop.
He can get there. Yeah. Yes. And he can get there. And look, there's different levels to what that offers you, right? Like, when you have a talent like May, you can see what the Patriots are able to do. They're able to hit a hole shot at the end of the game, not because he's willing to take that throw. Dart's willing to make that throw. It's because he could drive the ball to that spot.
Mark Gomez, we're not making excuses for Jaxson Dart. We are describing ways in which we think Jaxson Dart can improve the deficiencies that we just saw today. Just wanted to clarify that from the comments.
Yeah, he can improve his footwork and he can improve his, like you said. I love what you said about Dak. Dak's the best example of that, dude. His arm talent has gotten better as he's aged in his career because he uses his core and he works on his hips and things like that to drive the ball more. Dart can do all those things. He's not he's never going to have the natural arm talent of some of these for a quarterback, but we know that, if he had that natural arm talent, he would have been a top 5 pick in the NFL draft because he had size, he could run, he had moxie, he clearly has leadership skills, he clearly has athleticism, he clearly has a good feel for the pocket, good management, can throw on the run, can do a lot of things. If he had that kind of arm talent, obviously he would have been a top 5 pick, not a late first round pick.
Absolutely, man. And Igor also said, is Shane better than Gettleman at anything other than being presentable?
Trading, I still think.
Yeah. Being a little bit more open, which is not a popular thing to say right here, but I remember Gettleman was not like that at all.
Yeah.
Openly mocked analytics. Clarence, thank you. I really hope the next general manager and head coach we hire have deeper resumes than simply being associated with a generational and great quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I think there was more to the resumes of both of those, both Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, but I do hope that their resumes are nice, and that would point to somebody like Gruden or Harbaugh that we mentioned a little bit earlier. Cliffside, thank you so much. Unfortunately, Mr. Mara has a very serious health issue, so even things like knowing who will lead the search for the next head coach GM is uncertain. Yeah, look, I mean, of course, but Mara, as we know, there's a lot of his family in the New York Giants organization and people within the Giants organization who have been there for a while now, so they will definitely assist and help with that process. Kevin H, thank you. Look at what DJ is doing in Indy, passing well and barely rushing. Our offense today looks the same it did with DJ. Is Daboll's scheme not quarterback friendly? I don't know if the offense looked the same as it did with DJ today. The offense was running. Like, the offense wasn't terrible other than the back-breaking mistakes that they made and the lack of explosive plays. And that would be to your point, Kevin. They're not hitting on their explosive plays. And that is consistent with what we saw with the previous quarterback as well. And I do think there is merit to your argument. But, like, I don't come away from this game, Dan, and I want to get your perspective on this, saying, like, oh, the Giants' offense is terrible. I'm like, no, they're terrible because they turned the football over, but they were at least moving the football against a defense that I feel like is inferior to even the Giants offense.
I would agree with that, but I also think part of that was, just in some ways, at least, doing what Kevin H said, right? Having a scheme that was pretty similar to what Jones did in 2022, right? A lot of 12 personnel, a lot of heavy running, RPOs, hit the bubble. There was now more free access plays where he tried to get Wandale and whatnot on the edge, get him in space, let him run a little bit. Those
it's still Brian Daboll's system coordinated by Mike Kafka. So from that perspective, yes, but they were moving the football in this. It wasn't
in this game specifically,
yes.
They were moving the ball. They were moving it in that way. When they did have to go to a different style in the fourth quarter, when they were down 2 scores, they couldn't move the ball at all. When they had to really do a full drop back, let it rip type passing game. Not to say the Colts have been in that position yet this year. So, it's hard for any team when they're in that spot, down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. But I think a lot has to be said right now about what Kevin H brings up, and about the impact of coaching as we watch Mac Jones in San Francisco and Carson Wentz in Minnesota. There's just no way around it at this point. When we watch some of these quarterbacks do well with these quote unquote great coaches, even Steichen in a lot of ways did a great job with quarterbacks in the past. I know he didn't do great with Richardson, and people kind of felt like, oh, Steichen's done, but we kind of know now Richardson just didn't play any football in his life. So it's just really unaware of how to play the position. Yeah. I think it's pretty clear to me, at least, Nick, that Daboll does not run a good offensive scheme. I'm with Kevin H on this personally.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm just saying I think it's a little bit different than what we saw in 2022. But it's still simplified. I mean, we went over that though. If on the all 22 of last week, like, the Giants did not really hit a lot. It was stick concepts and RPO bubbles, really, and then 4 or 5 plays that were beyond that. I'm imagining with experience, Dart will be able to maybe progress beyond that. But overall, I do think Kevin H is onto something too. Yes, sir. Firing Jerome Henderson, another bad coaching move. I can't really speak too much to that. But the secondary isn't playing amazing right now.
Fair.
Tuto, thank you so much. Salutes and respect to the BBB crew and fam. Greetings from our entire team in Italy. Giants got great rosters, but the coaching sucks. That's what I make out from that. Tuto, you are the man. Continue having fun playing rugby, my friend.
That's what I make out from that.
Clarence, feel
shout out Tutu. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, he's the man. Clarence, feel like Dart often throws without. Yes, exactly. That is a big problem. And I think Dart brought it up after last week's games. Yeah, I can really clean my footwork up. He has this very unconventional, I'm a shortstop trying to make a Derek Jeter type of throw over first base to throw Ricky Henderson out or something, right? It's not mechanical. It's not fluid. Now, when it's accurate, that's fine. And it allows you to get out of a bind sometimes. But when it's not accurate, and if you are underthrowing balls, it's something that I think, and if you already do not have the best arm talent, it's something that you probably should work on a little bit and to maximize the skill set, as we brought up a little bit earlier. John, thank you so much. Just here to say thank you, Dan and Nick. Hey, man, John, you're the man. John. You be well, my friend. Ronald, thank you so much. How do we know it's a miss players who leave look great and new players regress from rookie years? Impossible to know. No one develops here. Yeah, no, the development does seem to suck. And that would be the Joe Shane argument that he would make if there is an actual, contentious thing going on between the front office and the coaching staff. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Hyatt needs to give Biletnikoff award back, but he probably dropped it. Oh, geez. Makes Evan Ingram look like a genius pick. Frustrating, painful day. Rant, Dan, rant. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it out earlier. I think I'm good now.
Yeah, no, it's that's funny though. That was good.
That was good.
You got me. Tuto again. Thank you. Nick, Giants coaches shouldn't make adjustments on offense if it wasn't necessary, but they should make adjustments on the defense defensive side where they need to. Very poor coaching. Yeah, the coaching is a mess right now, and they're not putting the players into the best spots, and the entire operation sucks. I mean, it's not just the coaching, it's the entire operation at this point. The Dan abides 10. Thank you. Another positive. One game closer to being done with Shane and Daboll. That is accurate.
I mean, it's fair to argue by the Dan abides that long term it is a positive to not have fool's gold and put ourselves in a position moving forward with these two.
Absolutely. Ezra, thank you. Special teams played well 2 weeks in a row at least. Michael Gobriel.
Yep.
Make him the head coach. Now, Andrew Gill, thank you. What is one thing that the Giants do well except the pass rush, which wins on talent alone? This reflects on coaching. They don't do anything well. I 100% agree, Andrew. Yes.
I think they've protected the passer pretty well this entire season, to be quite frank, with the exception of a game or two, maybe.
The last 2 games, I'll say. Since Andrew Thomas has come back, it's been exceptional.
Not including the Hudson snaps.
I don't watch the 31 other teams in the NFL, but I have to imagine the pass protection is at least at league average
at minimum
with this. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good, which Jaxson Dart needs that at least. Morgan G, thank you. You notice that every former Giant is excelling. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard. The coaching staff is minimizing talent.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't argue with that as all these players do well. I wouldn't, Saquon, I don't think is fair. Like, we knew Saquon was a great talent and he was limited by our offensive line. I would say that's less coaching and more our offensive line versus the Eagles O-line, especially when the Eagles O-line was number 1 in yards created last year and Saquon was amazing. This year, they're number 20th, and Saquon's been pretty bad in the run game. I think he's averaging like under 4 yards per carry. So the Saquon one, take that out. Sterling Shepard, we knew was a good player. He was an older veteran. We just let him go. We could use him right now, though. That's the fact of the matter. We could literally use him right now. It's embarrassing on our part. And then Jones, that's the story of the year, right? Like, he went to Indy. Shane Steichen figured him out, I guess, for now, and give him all the credit in the world. How much the thing is, like, a lot of people are like, in the comments and crapping on me and you, even Nick, about this Jones thing. It's like, well, what we're going to do? Give him like a 7th year? Like, he wasn't working here, right? And you could say like, oh, Daboll ruined him. And once we got rid of Daboll, we could have just like hired the right coach and he would have worked here. Does anyone really believe that? Does anyone really honestly believe that if we got a new coaching staff in here and we kept Daniel Jones for this season, that Daniel Jones will be having the season he's having now with the Colts with us? Does anyone honestly really believe that? Be honest with yourself when you answer that question. It's really ridiculous to say that. Would we have had the Colts O-line? Would we have had Jonathan Taylor? Would we have had those receivers? And we could have maybe got the play caller. But let's be honest. The
defense that consistently is. And look, I'm not like I think what he's doing is great, and they're getting the most out of him 100%, but you're spot on with your analysis here. That would have been the 4th head coach that Daniel Jones would have received after showing very little.
And this comment is so stupid by Boop. Maybe rally around our QB instead of shorting on him for clicks. Nobody was doing this for clicks. We didn't give a shit about clicks. We were watching the tape and breaking down what we saw, and it was bad tape. You can blame it all on Daboll. I'm okay accepting that, obviously, as he's doing well in Indy, if that's what you want to do. But we weren't looking for clicks. We were just watching bad football and breaking it down. But regardless, if anyone actually believes that if we had kept Jones and fired Daboll, Jones would have been doing what he's doing now in Indy here, I have a bridge to sell you. Or what was that term? I have whatever. Because like, we suck as a franchise, okay? It's not just like, it's pretty obvious we're bad we weren't going to win games this year. It's clear now.
Tuto, thank you so much. And well put, by the way, Dan. Tuto, Nick, Giants coaches try to mix things up to look crafty and smart, but if they don't know what the F they're doing, they look even more stupid by making more mistakes, mate. And then he did the Italian fingers, which I very, very seriously appreciate. Tuto. Yeah, no, it's look, I didn't hate the flea flicker call, right? Like, I didn't hate
call,
that.
yeah.
Like, I thought it was a fine call. Everyone thought Scadaboo was getting the ball there. I do think the timing of the pitch back may have messed things up a little bit, and then Dart might have been a little late and he underthrew it. But yeah, no, I mean, I wish Shane Bowen tried to look crafty and smart on defense. Instead, he's like, no, we're gonna run cover 1. It's what we're doing. It's gonna be cover 6 on this one, guys.
Yep.
So
and he answered this week, Shane Bowen. They asked him about it, one of the reporters, and he's basically like, he beat around the bush in the question and was just like, we don't need to always do, like, we're not the type of team that needs to disguise. Like, there'll be some games where we might need to, but he feels that he could just win with his players. He also said something along the lines of like, by disguising, it gives you less of a chance of creating turnovers or something like that. And how, he created some of the turnover chances they had last week that were almost turnovers were due to him not disguising. It's a bunch of bullshit, but that's his theory. That's his philosophy. Honestly, his philosophy is, this is how he coaches defense. He does actually believe that it puts them in a better chance to create turnovers. So Obviously, we don't agree with that. Mike is nice, said, Dan, any more game score predictions? I addressed at the beginning of the show, Mike. I apologize for my prediction of this game. I'm sorry for getting hopeful about this team again. I won't do it again.
Cliffside, thank you. Thoughts on the roughing the passer hit on Dart? I'm trying to remember exactly what happened.
No. It was the really bad call at the end of the game. It was a terrible call. Nick and I both agreed that was a bad call, and we got, I guess, lucky, quote unquote, from it.
Yeah, a lot of those roughing the passers, you're not going to see me being like, yeah, that needs to be called unless it's.
And I will say this, Nick, I do not at all think it's the reason we lost this game, but this game was called really egregiously from a holding standpoint. The Giants' pass rush is held consistently, game to game. We watch the tape every week. This game, I saw multiple plays where they were grabbed by the neck, no call. And then at the end of the game, the Giants' offense got called for 2 holding calls.
Yeah, which weren't like egregious.
Egregious. They were fine to call, but only if you're calling it like that. You have to stay. My biggest thing with officials is just call it consistent. If you're doing a game where you're calling a lot of holds, that's fine. Then call both sides. If you're doing a game where you're not calling a lot of holds, which was clear by them not throwing the flag on any of the times the Giants were held, well, then don't throw at the end of the game. It was just stupid. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Jeff Saturday for interim coach. Probably the same result. Yes.
Yeah.
A throwback. The Dan Abides, thank you so much again, buddy. Thank you. It really means a lot. How many other teams don't fill out their full game day roster? I can't imagine it saves that much money. And if you feel like you have to do that after all these years in charge, what does that say about your cap management? It does not say something good about the cap management. I can't speak to other teams. I know the Giants have done this in the past, though, unfortunately, in this regime. So I don't think it's a common thing to do. I think it's something that a cap restrained team looks to do. But it really sucks when your team needs those bodies because you're injured at a variety of different positions. Igor, we've had 3 general managers, multiple head coaches, and completely different rosters since 2011, and they have been the worst in the league, bad practically every year. How? Man, those walls are cursed, bro. No, it's an inept organization, top down at this point. It's the only way I can look at it, right?
Yeah, we've become that. Unfortunately, we've become that. Yeah,
I don't want that.
Yeah.
Tuto, thank you so much, Igor. Tuto, Dan, my mate's asking to Chang scours on your fridge, please. Yeah. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I can put a little dash here. I think it's a little bit better. Put a little dash on there, so it's a little more obvious.
It looks like 1 and 9 almost from my perspective, and that might be what it is in some weeks.
Oh God.
We might be looking at that for a while. Yeah, no, it's tough. Thank you, Tuto. Morgan, thank you so much. We had one good coach in 2022 and 2023, and that was Davis Webb. Jones had a career year with him on board. Bo Nix is thriving with him in Denver. I don't know if Bo Nix is thriving right now, but I mean, he led that comeback.
He had a good comeback today. He has not been thriving at all. He's had more time, 4.7 seconds behind the pocket than any quarterback in the NFL, and has the highest off-target throw rate on 20-plus yards going into this week. So no.
Thank you so much, Cano. No comment, but thank you so much. Appreciate the money, the donation. Renee Ruiz, are we going to see Shane and Daboll get fired on HBO? When does that start, Dan?
Oh, I forgot the Giants are on this year's HBO, the in-season Hard Knocks. It's going to be a nightmare, dude.
It's going to be a nightmare. There's so much going on with the Giants organization right now. Yeah. The amount of
wow, that might happen too. I think maybe because we're on the Hard Knocks, Mara won't fire them in season. I don't even know if we can say Mara will fire. Like Mara's, you know what I mean? Like, who knows what's going on with this team?
Yeah, no, that's.
I don't think they're going to get fired this year. But if they're 1 and 9, like they might have to.
I don't know, man. That's a bad situation.
It's going to get so toxic with the fans, with social media, with the stadium, with the planes and everything, if they go to like 1 and 8, 1 or 9, to the point where they might have to fire them in season.
No, man. Cano, thank you so much. What would you think of AP as interim? You can't bring somebody in outside the organization right now to be
interims are always guys on the team already. Yeah.
If the Giants go the interim route, Mike Kafka, I don't know if Gabriel is an actual player with something like that, but those would be like 2 names that come to my mind. I'm trying to think of a positional coach that that would warrant that, but those are probably the 2 names. I think it should just be given to Kafka, but I don't even know like how he's respected around the team. Yeah, I don't know the overall feel of the team when it comes to like how the defensive players view a coach like that. So, yeah, not a good situation, Bob. Brian, thank you so much. If Hyatt can't go deep, what does he do well? I don't think he does much
So
well.
far, nothing. Yeah.
Unfortunately. But thank you so much. Igor, thank you so much. I'm a hockey fan, as am I. Almost all head coaches hired are experienced hires. Why does the NFL always go for some hot shot coordinator? I think, look, it's an innovative sport and it's constantly evolving. Think about football like 10 years ago, right? Like there's a lot of different offensive and defensive approaches, and the chess match of football goes beyond just one instantiation of a game, right? Like it's much more broad. Like think about like the Seattle Seahawks when they had the Legion of Boom and they were just basically playing a lot of cover three. Offenses adjusted to that, and now the defense had to adjust off that. So there's this constant grappling in this copycat league. So if there's a hotshot coordinator showing like a Ben Johnson showing like, hey, I really know how to design plays and sequence plays and successfully lead an offense, I understand fully why somebody would want to jump on that. I mean, look at some of these head coaching hires that have happened and how they worked out immensely. And they were these hot shot coordinators, a la a Kyle Shanahan, a la a Sean McVay, and players like people like that, Kevin O'Connell.
Where the biggest hits come from.
Exactly. So I completely understand it. Football is just a much different animal. And I love hockey, but it's just a much different animal from a coaching perspective than a hockey.
It is. As we go on, dude, and we start to see like these examples again of like Carson Wentz with Minnesota, Mac Jones with San Fran, Daniel Jones with Indianapolis. And then with two hotshot hires this year, Nick, Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson, the Bears and Jags are top 5 in yards created in the run game. That makes no sense for the Jags. Jags have no talent on that offensive line, literally none, across the board. It's like look at it, their offensive line on paper, the Jags, and understand like that's all coaching, that's all scheme, and he did that with the Bucs last year as well, Liam Cohen. So I too understand some of it. Like, and the same thing's happening with Ben Johnson. Like DeAndre Swift's the worst in the NFL right now, but they're top 5 in yards created as well, the Bears.
Yeah, and football is a scheme-oriented sport. Like if you're an experienced head coach, you could get phased out very quickly because you have certain ways of doing things, but football evolves so fast that your like Doug Peterson, for instance. Doug Peterson was revolutionary, and he led this very unique offense, this new age offense with the Eagles, and then he goes to Jacksonville, and it just fell flat on its face,
bland,
right? Yeah, it felt bland because teams figure you out. It's a constant grappling match between the offense and defense. That's why I love it so much, man. It's always evolving. You can think you know so much about it one year. You stop paying attention to it for a year.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're like, oh, what's this that's going on? Like, how do you combat that? Like,
but even as you talk through it like that, Nick, it just leads me more and more down direction of the coaching means a lot more.
It does, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronald, thank you so much, bud. Said sorry, frustrated typos before. It's all good, bro. I just think there are so many little things wrong here, and that you can't put your finger on what is wrong. Yeah, I think it's operational. Again,
that's probably true too, Ronald. Yeah.
There's a lot that's wrong. Ronald, am I the only one tired watching unflagged holds? Yeah, and again, I'm not here to make excuses. The Giants suck, but it does seem like Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence are held on almost every single play. To the point where it's like, I really think these guys need to complain a lot more. I don't know if they might be complaining a lot right now. Whatever it is, complain a lot more because it's pretty obvious. Season long baller. Thank you. 51 players dressed today. Roster management always an issue. Absolutely. How many times are we going to talk about that, right? Like when it comes to not bring a kicker up in week 2, there's always something with this roster.
There's something. Yeah, you're right.
Something. But thank you so much, season long baller. Igor, thank you again. Does anyone actually believe that it's Bowen's theory that it's better to not disguise, or is he just not creative enough? Yeah, I think it's the latter there. I don't want to say he's not creative enough, but like putting those creative nuances into your plays is something that I guess he's not accustomed to doing. And there's a lot that entails when doing that. So he relies much more on a more vanilla approach, it seems like, because he's not doing a lot of creative shit on the back end.
And I don't believe in it. No, to answer the question, I don't really believe in it. I think this is an interesting point real quick. Just get into from Clarence. He says, I think Dart's ceiling is more Jalen Hurts, extending drives with his legs, making good decisions, getting enough done through the air, being a leader. I can kind of see that as Dart's ceiling, like a Hurts, because I think they have similar arm talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's still so early to really make that declaration, but I don't think that's unfair. I don't think that's unfair.
That's a good ceiling. That's fine. You can win with that.
Yeah. You need some good infrastructure around you, but yes.
You do, but you can win with that.
Morgan G, thank you so much. The thing that sucks, Dan Nick, is we love the Giants and grew up with Coughlin, Strahan, and Eli. It's awful to not have real football. I know, Morgan. That's
Yeah,
an excellent
agreed.
point.
That's what we grew up with, and it's just so crazy to be at this point where we're just doing it over and over again.
Ronald, thank you. I don't think Hyatt was PI'd where he fell, but we were called on ticky-tack calls. If you are going to call a game tight, yeah, Dan made that point before. And
on the holds, not on the PIs. I don't stand by that on the PIs.
I don't think I saw any.
Yeah, like
any instances where the Giants were getting interfered with from a PI standpoint.
But I think what he's saying is like the PIs that were called on us when we were on defense. Yeah,
I know what he's saying. But I don't even think there were any that could have been called on the Giants.
Yeah, agreed.
Because the Giants, I don't even know if they were really creating that much separation.
Right.
We'll have to see that.
Problem.
Yes, sir. This is our final super chat. Thank you, everybody, for the supers. It means a lot. We appreciate it. Isser asks, favorite ice cream flavors? Bowen is vanilla. Dave's Rocky Road. Joe Shane is Froyo. Yeah. What's the Rocky Road? Is it just because he's on a Rocky Road right now?
I think it's like chocolate and
no. I mean the metaphor that he's. I
guess so. Yeah.
Because vanilla makes a lot of sense for Shane Bowen, and then
that's
Joe
perfect.
Shane, Froyo. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's a hipster and they like hipsters love Froyo. I love Froyo, And then the Rocky Road, is that just because Dave's on a Rocky Road right now until he inevitably finds himself unemployed? I'm not sure. So let me know if we're analyzing this way too much, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
Gareth Ryan Creative says Jalen Hyatt PI'd himself. Yeah, I think that's how I would answer the question we just got.
Yes, that's a great point. Gareth Ryan Creative. Yeah, it seems like he does that a lot. It's because he's like, I'm not going to find a way to catch this football, so I got to like lean into the contact and then flail my arms.
Yeah.
It's almost like I respect the fact that you're trying to, manipulate the refs. But I think they're on to you, and they're like, this guy's not good enough to like be held. Like, what are you doing? It sucks, man. But that's all our shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Big Blue Banter podcast. Really enjoyed doing this. To the extent that we can enjoy it, I just, I wish that we had better things to tell you guys. I wish we had reason to believe in this team and hope and wins. This was supposed to be a game they could win, but they weren't able to win this game, and they weren't able to save their season, in my mind, at least. We'll see. Never know. As Nick said, crazier things have happened, but we're headed toward a very interesting season again, like the last few that we've dealt with. And so thank you for sticking with
I want to dive back into Isser's point, all right? Yeah. Isser said the Rocky Road for being on the hot seat all the time, but also the Giants' ups and downs being a rocky road. I would say it's a steep decline road, right? Like that hill goes down. You know what I'm saying? Like there really is not a lot of ups, but I do appreciate that, Isser. And then he also says Froyo for Joe Shane because more fake than substance.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people like Froyo.
Yeah, but it's not ice cream, is his point.
True. I'm not a big Froyo fan. I think it's just chemicals. Why would I eat that? I'd rather have the real thing. All right. Thanks again for listening to the Big Blue Banter podcast. Please hit the like button before you go. Please just click like. It's all you need to do. Subscribe, rate and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. Join us again tomorrow as we break down the film on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Have a great rest of your night and go Giants.